Hello everyone. Today's session is about the team folder in CentreStack. Team folder, by the name, it's a common workspace for users to collaborate in a folder or in a set of folders. So you can have multiple folders, multiple team folders. And the team folders, the concept is very much like the network share in the local area network. So in this case, so let's say your file server and your Active Directory server are already in a data center. So you install the CentreStack server next to it in the same data center so they can have direct access. Sometimes you may have a network, like in a separate network, the firewall separating the CentreStack server away from the file server and Active Directory server. So for example, you may have multiple customers all in the data center, but separated. You can still punch holes to it. There's also another use case. We're going to do the other use case in a separate video, but today I'm going to be talking about it first, that your CentreStack server is still in the data center, but your customers, their file server and their Active Directory server are away from the CentreStack server, away from the data center in their own building, in their own like office, and the connections in between is cloud. So in that case, we will have to use server agent to do so. So now let's get back to case number one, that we will demonstrate how, when the CentreStack server, file server, and Active Directory server are all in the same network, how do we turn network shares into team folder so then users can continue to collaborate over the internet. To get started, so let's set up some Active Directory users first. So the reason, I have a lot of users, Active Directory users already in the Active Directory here, but just to make sure that it's easy to follow, then I will create some new users here. So then the users are newly created. The network shares are newly created, and then get the Active Directory users and network shares into CentreStack. So then you can see, what I'm doing here and how the CentreStack system can wrap around the file server, wrap around the Active Directory, and expose the file and folder access, honoring the NTFS permission, but you can allow it to access from the web portal, from the remote iPhone, Android phone, and remote PC Mac clients without using the VPN. It's a multi-tenant system, so we are going to be demonstrating from the ACME3 tenant. So we are creating two users. One is called ACME3U1, and the other one is called ACME-U2, 3U2. So U1 and U2, two users, and then ACME is like the name for the tenant. So now the two users are created, and let's go ahead and create a shared folder. So normally the shared folder will be coming from a file server. So for simplicity, for the demonstration, so on this Active Directory server, I'm going to be exposing a network share, so it's emulating a file server. They don't have to be on the same server as long as they are in the same Active Directory and in the same local area network. It's okay, but for demonstration, so just put them on the same server. So now we have an ACME3 share. So now let's make it into a share. So for all the Windows system administrators, for every folder, there are two tabs. One is the sharing tab and one is the security tab. So now we are doing this for the sharing tab. And then later on, you can see this sharing tab is mapped into the team folder in CentreStack, and then you can assign the same users to the CentreStack team folder. So team folder equivalent to a network share, or the sharing tab for the folder. After the sharing tab is set up, so now we click into the ACME3 share, and then we are seeing the two folders, U1 folder and U2 folder. So we are going to be setting up the U1 folder and U2 folder such that U1 can only access U1 folder, and then user 2 can only access U2 folder. So to do so, we need to disable the inheritance from the parent folder, so then we can specify explicitly who can access what folder. So a lot of the time before you use the CentreStack system, all these are all pre-existing, right? So you set it up long ago, and then because you are managing that for your customers, you know the customer has a business to run and it's already done and set. There may be new users come and go, or so, but pretty much the folder structure is already set up. So so for now, I'm setting up as a new folder, so you kind of know what the folders are. There's a U1 folder, there's a U2 folder, and there's permissions set on it. But it doesn't have to. You don't have to newly create anything. You can just hook. The CentreStack system can hook directly to an existing network share. So now we are setting up the U2 folder, and then we give U2 user the explicit full control permission, and then we are going to add the U1 user, but we will deny everything. So for the U1 user, we're going to deny everything. So as I'm setting up right now, U1 is fully allowed to access U1 folder, but U2 user will be denied for the U1 folder, and then for the vice versa. In the U2 folder, the user 2 has full control, but U1 is kind of everything is denied. So we have the two folder now, and then in order to understand and follow that, which folder we are in, so we are creating a marker file. So so once you see the name of this file and see the content of this file, you know which folder we are in. So this is U1 folder, and then create another marker file in the folder so we know who's who. So the demonstration, the goal of the demonstration is for you to see that the NTFS permission, even after setting up CentreStack, can be 100% honored in this kind of setup, that you can start to do cloud-based collaboration with granular folder permission. And in this specific case, the permission can be delegated 100% to the Windows NTFS side, so not just the folder permission, but also every single file. The access can be done, 100% NTFS way. So as a quick summary, we set up the CentreStack server and then the file server, and then create some users and set up a folder. So now let's go back to the CentreStack server side to set it up. So to set up the system, we need to go into not the files and folder view, but the management portal view. So now we are at the management portal. We already logged in as ACME3 tenant admin, right? So now the step number 1 is to enable Active Directory integration. So the steps for a remote system, like if the customer's file servers are not in the same data center, is different. You don't go this way, you go the server agent way, but that's another session. But for today's session, we are going to be set up direct Active Directory connection, because the CentreStack server and the Active Directory server are in the same data center. So we are going to be just connecting them up. And the friendly domain name is the same domain name you saw in the Active Directory tools. So now, after we click apply, it's applied. So it doesn't complain. Typically no message is good message. So that means the Active Directory is connected. So let's go ahead and do a double check. So we can go and query. So we query like name contains, and then it immediately find 2 users. So we are importing these 2 users into the CentreStack system here. So then these 2 users, once they are imported into the CentreStack system, now they can use browser and iPhone and remote access to access the same set of network share, right? So before, you can only access that from the local area network, or maybe access that from using VPN, which is kind of inconvenient. But now you can install the app and access that from mobile devices and browsers. So now we go to the team folder section, and then in the team folder section, you are seeing two sections. Well, one is the local server, and one is remote. So you can see the host name for this file server, which is this guy, right? So Windows machine always have that like a random name, and then you can see after we click through, the ACME3 share shows up. Because it's all in the network, the NetBIOS protocol, the TCP protocol, the SMB are all kind of open. So then I can just do this as if there's no glitches, right? So, but let's say if you have a lot of firewall in between, you may need to use IP and IP address and other ways to connect. So you can use manual configuration if you had to. So as you can see here, the domain users is also applied to the team folder. So now it's done, right? So the configuration, what we have done, we imported the Active Directory user into the CentreStack. We connected the network share into the CentreStack. So now that's tested that we can use the user to access, at least from the browser. Once you can access from the browser, you can access it from iPhone and other devices. But for iPhone, I would recommend you wait until you set up HTTPS. So now there are two folders, U1 and U2, and then you can see if this I'm logged in as user 1. So user 1, I want to access user 2's folder, I get access denied. So that's what I want, right? I want the CentreStack access following 100% what the NTFS is, right? So then I have one place to set up the permission, the granular permission control down to every single file without the need to set everything up again. So now I'm logged in as U2. So U2, this is U2's folder. He can access U2's folder, but if he ever tries to access U1's folder, he got access denied, right? So this is what we want. The NTFS permission is 100% honored. There's something more that I can show you, if you are using DFS, right? In DFS, there's a thing called access-based enumeration. So that means if you don't have permission to read specific folders, those folders will not even show up. Then, as you can see here in the CentreStack system, we can emulate that feature without the requirement of DFS. So I'm going to go to Group Policy folder in Storage and say don't show folders that the user don't have permission to. So now I do a refresh and then U1 folder disappeared, right? So I'm user 2, I logged in, I can see my U2 folder, but because I don't have read permission to U1 folder, so U1 folder is disappeared. So it emulates the access-based enumeration. So it's very easy for admin to control. And then you can use Mac client, PC client, Apple, Android client to connect to the same folder. So now you're working in a team folder, following the permission set in the NTFS, and you continue to collaborate over the internet. So this is the managed file sync and share solution, allowing you to continue to collaborate, elevate your collaboration in the local area network to the cloud. So the next session, we're going to be talking about the server agent, and then when the CentreStack server and the file server, Active Directory server are not in the same place, like in two different locations, then we will use server agent to set up the collaboration. So I'm going to show you a glimpse of the remote server. So there are two sections, local server and remote server. But for now, remote server section is empty because I don't have server agent installed. That will be next session's topic. Thank you.